The woman in the hallway. I still can't walk past apartment 3B without holding my breath. It's been 4 months since I moved out of that building, and I've told myself 100 times that what I experienced had some rational explanation. But late at night, when I'm lying in bed and the house settles around me, I remember the sound of her footsteps, and I know, deep in my bones, that some things can't be explained away. I moved into the Clearwater Apartments in Richmond, Virginia in September of last year. It was one of those old brick buildings from the 1940s that had been renovated just enough to charge modern rent, but not enough to erase its history. The hallways still had the original hardwood floors that creaked with every step, and the radiators clanked and hissed like they were having conversations with each other. My apartment was 3C, third floor, corner unit. The building only had 4 floors, and mine was quiet, just 3 units on the entire level. There was 3A at the far end, where an elderly man named Mr. Chen lived. He kept to himself, gave polite nods in passing, nothing more. Then 3B, directly across from my door, and my place, 3C. The thing about 3B was that it was empty, had been for years, according to the landlord. Rent control dispute with the previous tenant, he'd explained when I asked during the walkthrough. Legal red tape, you know how it is. I didn't think much of it at the time. An empty apartment across the hall actually seemed like a good thing. One less neighbor to worry about, one less chance of noise complaints or awkward small talk. For the first 2 weeks, everything was fine, normal. I was settling in, getting used to the rhythms of the building. I learned that the water pressure dropped every morning at 7:15 when the whole building showered at once. I learned that Mrs. Rodriguez on the 2nd floor cooked something with cumin every single Thursday that made the entire stairwell smell amazing. I learned that the building's old bones sang at night. The pipes, the walls, the floors, all contributing to a symphony of ambient noise that I found oddly comforting. Then on a Wednesday night in late September, I heard someone in the hallway. It was just after midnight. I'd been reading in bed, nearly asleep, when footsteps pulled me back to consciousness. They were slow, deliberate, the particular creak of old floorboards under weight. I didn't think anything of it at first, probably Mr. Chen coming home late, but the footsteps stopped right outside my door. I waited for the jingle of keys, the sound of a door opening. Instead, there was just silence, complete, heavy silence that seemed to press against my door like something physical. I held my breath without meaning to, listening. After what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 30 seconds, the footsteps continued. They moved away, down the hall, and I heard the stairwell door open and close. I exhaled and told myself I was being ridiculous. Someone had probably just paused to check their phone or dig for their keys. Nothing sinister about that. But it happened again 2 nights later. The same slow footsteps, the same pause outside my door, the same heavy silence. This time, I got up and looked through the peephole, some irrational part of me needing to see that it was just a normal person doing normal things. The hallway was empty. I stood there with my eye pressed to the peephole, my heart doing something uncomfortable in my chest, and stared at the fisheye view of absolutely nothing. The footsteps had stopped only seconds before. There was no way someone could have made it to the stairwell that fast, not without me hearing them run. I checked the deadbolt, locked, and went back to bed, but I didn't sleep well that night. Over the next week, it became a pattern. Almost every night, usually between midnight and 2 a.m., I'd hear those footsteps, always the same cadence, always stopping outside my door, sometimes for just a moment, sometimes for minutes at a time. I started keeping track. Monday night, 12:47 a.m., stopped for approximately 2 minutes. Wednesday, 1:23 a.m., 3 minutes of absolute silence right outside my door. I mentioned it to Mr. Chen one morning when we happened to leave our apartments at the same time. "Do you ever hear someone walking around late at night?" I asked, trying to sound casual. He looked at me for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he said, very quietly, "I sleep with earplugs. and walked away. It was the way he said it, not like advice, but like a warning. I started noticing other things. Sometimes when I came home in the evening, I'd catch a smell in the hallway. Floral perfume, old-fashioned and cloying, the kind my grandmother used to wear. It would be there for just a moment, then gone, like someone had just walked past. And there was the cold spot. Right in front of apartment 3B, there was a section of hallway that was always cold. I mean, properly cold, like someone had left a window open in winter, even though there were no windows in the hallway and it was still early autumn. I'd walk through it every time I came home, and every time it felt like stepping into a pocket of January. I told myself there was probably something wrong with the building's heating system. Old buildings were quirky. That's what I loved about them, right? Character. But I stopped believing my own excuses on the night I saw the door.
It was a Thursday, around 11 p.m. I was coming home from a late dinner with friends, feeling good, maybe a little buzzed from the wine. I climbed the stairs to the third floor, humming some song I couldn't quite remember the words to. The hallway light was flickering. Not unusual, the bulbs were ancient and the landlord was cheap. But in the stuttering light, I saw that the door to 3B was open. Not wide open, just cracked, maybe 6 inches, enough to show a slice of darkness beyond. I stopped walking. The humming died in my throat. That door was always closed, always. I passed it twice a day, every day, and it had never been anything but shut tight. "Hello?" My voice sounded small in the empty hallway. No response, just the flicker of the dying light and that open door, like a mouth slightly parted. I should have gone straight to my apartment, called the landlord, called the police, called someone. But you know how it is when you're scared. Sometimes your brain short-circuits and you do the exact opposite of the sensible thing. I walked toward 3B. With each step, the temperature dropped. By the time I reached the door, I could see my breath misting in the air. The floral perfume smell was overwhelming now, so strong it was almost nauseating. I put my hand on the wood. The wood was ice cold. "Is someone in there?" I called out. From inside the apartment, I heard something. Not a voice, not quite, but a sound like fabric rustling, like someone in a long dress shifting their weight from foot to foot. Every instinct I had was screaming at me to run, but I pushed the door open wider. The apartment was empty, completely empty. No furniture, no belongings, nothing. Just bare floors and walls painted a dingy cream color. The streetlight outside cast long shadows through the uncovered windows. And standing in the center of the room, backlit by that pale orange light, was a woman. I couldn't see her face clearly. She was tall, wearing something long and dark that might have been a dress or a coat. Her hair hung down past her shoulders, and she was completely, utterly still. We stood there frozen for what might have been 3 seconds or 3 hours. I honestly couldn't tell you. Then she turned her head toward me. I didn't wait to see her face. I ran. I don't remember getting my keys out or unlocking my door. The next thing I knew, I was inside my apartment with every lock engaged, my back pressed against the door, my whole body shaking. I didn't sleep at all that night. I sat on my couch with all the lights on, listening for sounds from the hallway, but there was nothing, just the normal creaking and settling of an old building. When morning came, I convinced myself I'd imagined it. Too much wine, too much stress from work, an overactive imagination fed by those late-night footsteps. The door was probably open because of a maintenance issue, and the woman was just shadows and light playing tricks on my tired eyes. But that night, the footsteps came again. Only this time, they didn't stop outside my door. I heard them approach, slow and measured as always, heard them stop, but then I heard something new, the sound of someone trying my doorknob, just once, a slow turn, testing to see if it was locked. It was, of course it was. I'd checked it 3 times. The doorknob went still. In the silence that followed, I heard breathing on the other side of the door. Slow, raspy breathing, like someone who'd been running or crying. Then, so soft I almost missed it, a woman's voice. "Please." Just that one word, desperate and broken and so terribly sad. I sat frozen on my couch, not daring to move, barely daring to breathe. The breathing continued for another minute, maybe two. Then the footsteps retreated, slow and heavy, and the stairwell door opened and closed. I moved out a week later, broke my lease, paid the penalty, didn't care. I told the landlord I got a job in another city, which was a lie, but he didn't push for details. Before I left, I ran into Mr. Chen one last time. He was checking his mail in the lobby, and when he saw me with my boxes, he just nodded like he'd been expecting it. "How long did you last?" he asked. "Almost a month." He turned back to his mailbox, then paused. Her name was Eleanor. She lived in 3B for 40 years. They found her 3 weeks after she died, alone. No family, no friends who checked on her. He closed his mailbox with a soft click. Some people say she's still waiting for someone to notice she's there. I wanted to ask more, but he walked away, and I let him go. I live across town now, in a new construction apartment with thin walls and neighbors who play music too loud. It's bright and modern and completely soulless, and I've never been more grateful for anything in my life. But sometimes late at night, I wake up for no reason, and in that space between sleeping and waking, I hear them. Slow footsteps in a hallway that isn't there, getting closer, always closer. And I wonder if moving away was enough, or if some things, once they notice you, never really let you go. Last week, I heard my doorknob turn, just once, testing. I didn't look through the peephole. I don't think I want to know what I'd see.